And we're live from GFOA. Welcome to the Avero booth. We've been here for 3 days. It feels like we've been here for 3 years, but it's been a fantastic show so far. We've met so many great people, software vendors, potential clients, current clients that have stopped by our booth. So we wanted to bring our experience from GFOA live to you on different platforms. We are Avero Advisors. We are independent ERP and management consulting firm that helps our clients modernize their operations through selecting the right enterprise systems and helping you implement them across your organization. With me today, I have Mr. Robert Krinovich. He is the Vice President of Client Success at Avero, and his responsibility is delivering projects at the highest quality to our clients. Robert, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I want to just recap GFOA. Today's the last day. We're going to wrap up the booth here in some time, but it's been 3 days of just intense learning, not just about the industry, but about our clients. And this is the fascinating part. Every year we come here, we learn new things about their needs, how they're being serviced by software vendors and other consultants, and how we can do better to address that market. So what have been your biggest learnings over the last 3 years?
Oh, my biggest takeaway is my clients are very wonderful, very interesting people, and they remain so. And that's the exciting part of it, because what we do winds up being ultimately relationship based. That's that's the important aspect of being advocates for our clients, is also knowing them in a variety of ways and not just what's project specific. So spending time with the clients, getting to know them a little more just than with the regular check-in phone call or the project meetings, but actually spending time with them, sitting down with them, and hearing what else is on their mind. It's outstanding. It's a great way to keep our clients' most important needs in mind, not just specifically with what we're doing, but what they want to do generally with
absolutely
with organizations.
And the GovTech industry is thriving, right? We met so many existing vendors, new names that we hadn't heard before, and everyone's trying to come up with the best product for our customers. That's the exciting part. And we've also talked to a lot of vendors about doing things differently.
Yes.
As not just as consultants, but as vendors themselves. But how do you get the clients to the quickest outcomes possible in the shortest path?
And that's the other benefit we get as well. We have an audience of a lot of vendors who we can bring a lot of the innovation to them the customers are asking for, and in return, vendors are giving us ideas as to what's coming with them or what's already been working successfully. I can pass that on directly to clients. Just a great discussion about AI-based decision-making last night, not in a scary way, but again, like we always talk about, making sure that the products you have for your organization mirror the experiences that you and your citizens have as well in other parts of their lives as well. That's a very important ask to have, because it's important for not only retaining your staff, having your staff do well in serving your mission of necessary public services, but also attracting new staff as well, and even attracting citizens. Citizens want to be proud of their town and their county and their organization. And when you give them the tools to be able to do that through interactive, that can be worked on almost any particular device, they can do all their services and transact services with their government from the comfort of wherever they're located. That's important. And the private sector has figured that out. It's now time for the public sector vendors to really leverage that and develop that.
Yeah. And by the way, we're taking questions. Put your comments in the chat box. Megan's in the background monitoring and taking questions. So tell us where you're calling in from or joining from, and we'd love to have an interactive discussion. Tell us what is most important to you as you watch this, and if you have any questions live from the belly of the beast, as I call it, right? Everybody's here as far as government finance is concerned. So any vendor questions, anything you've seen that you want to know about, just put it in the chat box, and we'll answer them as they come in. What's been most fascinating to me is everyone talking about AI. You touched on that a little bit, right? Government traditionally has had the benefit of being behind the times in technology, and in many cases, it's by design. By design, we want to see what happens. We want to see what happens, what succeeds, what doesn't succeed in the private sector, and then we're going to adopt. And again, our job is to be independently in favor of in your corner as a client. So we're watching the market real closely, and there's a push towards going live quicker. we've had multiple conversations with ERP vendors saying, you guys take too long to put an RFP out. You guys take too long to get to contract. Why do you have to do this? This is an off-the-shelf product that should work for your clients. What are your thoughts on that, Robert?
So yeah, the approach is changing. Like we often talk about internally. I'm never going to shortcut the relationship with the client. I'm going to make sure I know exactly what you need and get you where you need to go. There are multiple approaches to that, though, that have evolved both with the software industry as well as what you can do with limited resources. In local government, I don't have to tell you, you've already got people doing 20, 25 things. The last thing you need to do is take on another ERP project or dedicate a majority of your staff's time each week to an ERP project meeting. There's some ways we're thinking of internally of accelerating that and getting you to either the RFP on the street quicker, getting you through selection quicker, getting you through go live and implementation quicker, but without the sacrifice sometimes people like to make in terms of the relationship and making sure you get it right. That's the key. That's the balance. That's what I think is going to vary from customer to customer. But we're going to listen to our customers. I need to have this on the street in 30 days. All right, we'll do it.
Well, and the other learning I have from just watching the convention center and the exhibitor hall, there's tremendous consolidation happening, right? People are talking about best of breed solutions. They've invested millions of dollars in producing the best HR payroll system, the best debt management system, the best. So clients that have been on one platform for 20, 30 years, they don't know where to begin with.
That's the only thing they know.
That's the only thing they know. When they look for replacing ERP systems, they're looking at what else is out there that's going to replace this whole thing. And the vendor community is telling us that there's two ways to do this, right? Best of breed or all in. And our job is to help our clients identify what the strategy should be and how to start thinking about these things, because the last thing we need is them going out to a conference like this and saying, oh, I really like this one product, and we're going to go get it without understanding how this fits in with the rest of the conversation. So where do we start with this? If a client has been all in on one platform.
Oh yeah, so this ties into AI as well. It's really perception based. So we have a lot of clients that best of breed is a terrible word. Don't like it at all. They look at it. Hey, I'm a small organization. I need to have one person I can go to that's going to do everything for me. I don't believe in having a separate payroll system or separate permitting processing, electronic plans review. It's not that daunting. And I think what you're missing out on is the fact that there are a lot of major private sector ERP providers that are downsizing or able to right size their solution to be able to be used in local government effectively. And you shouldn't dismiss that. I'm not going to tell you have to go with a big software company just because they're a big software company. Again, it goes back to finding what's right for you. But today it's about choices, again, more than ever in local government. If you're 100 users or less, it used to be the same 3 or 4 people would respond to your RFP.
That's correct.
It's very different now. You've got some big players, people that actually deal with high-level enterprise type of ERP and solutions that size right down for government in a very good, reliable way that is not the mess of vendors that a lot of people think of. But AI is the other one as well. I think a lot of our clients are still dealing with the public perception issue. AI is also a dirty word to a lot of citizens as well, especially when tied with facial recognition, among other things. Let us help you with the messaging on that. That is not necessarily the case and does not need to be the case. There's a way to leverage these types of tools and AI as well in a non-threatening way that is not going to aggravate your public. And one of the things we love to do with our current clients is let us deliver that message to your elected body. Let us go to that council meeting or that county board meeting. We'll deliver that message. We'll carry the water for you on that and get you going on something that hard to fight on your own. It's hard to put something like that together on your own. Use us.
And as we walk around the exhibitor hall, I can't help but think that there's consolidation, change in the marketplace and products being offered, but they all are similar, right? At some point, is it all going to become one giant blob of a thing that looks the same and acts the same and does the same things? How do these vendors differentiate? And how do you pick the best vendor for your client when all the things are the same? It's like looking at email systems, right? You're going to go to Gmail, you're going to go to, oh, what else is out there, right? You're going to go to Office 365. They do the same thing. They look different. So what's the differentiating factor? What do you think the vendors should be focusing on outside of great products?
Relationship. You're exactly right. The products are becoming so homogenized. There isn't too much of a difference. And some of you are seeing this as well. You're picking a major product, but the implementers who you're focusing your time on in the selection process. So you've got 3 implementers actually implementing the same solution. You're going to pick the one that you can trust, you feel good about, the one that shows that they're actually going to care for you. They have a logical timeline that makes sense. They actually read the RFP, responded to parts of it correctly, did their own research and identified what's important for you. It's relationship based. Like I said at the very beginning, what we do is very tied to relationships. You can go on the internet and read a white paper on all this stuff that we do. The difference that we have is we focus on the relationship aspect of it. That's what software vendors are going to have to get really good at if they want to keep winning business, to be honest.
And how many prospective clients or just CFOs came and sat with us throughout the course of this conference and said, I can't get my software provider to call me back. We pay them hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars a year, and I can't get them to call me back. It's heartbreaking to hear that. And it was very interesting that happened yesterday when a leading vendor was sitting in our booth and a client comes by and says, I can't get these guys to call me back, and that's why I am shopping around. Can you guys help us? That's what we do.
Yeah, and there's a lot of you out there either know personally or know people that they've had career-ending ERP project failures. I mean, and a lot of people out there, this is their legacy as well. They're looking to do this right before they retire in 3 or 4 or 5 years. They really take the ERP implementation seriously. They want this to be their legacy. They don't want people to use their name disparagingly 5 years from now when tied to this project. And that's great. That's a great ask. That's a great vision. That's a great focus. That is not just a byproduct of what you want to do. Let that be your vision. That helps solidify everything that you want to do in this particular ERP project. That's the vision we love to serve up for our clients as well. Let us take care of you. We're going to make this a great legacy. You're going to love what you get. You're going to be able to retire going, I really made a major impact in the last 3 or 4 years of my organization.
Absolutely. And a lot of this is, we talk about ERP a lot because we're our booth is next to Workday, the Central Square across from us, all kinds of vendors. But how does ERP fit into an overall strategy for an organization, right? Not just IT strategy. It's such an important part of the whole organization, where people have built an organization around their older systems.
Yes.
So there's always this fear of what happens to this thing when we rip this thing apart. So how do you start? Do you start with an organizational strategic plan, or do you go to IT strategy? You've been in that spot
before. It varies.
Yeah.
If you have some good vision, high-level vision setting, strategic planning that your governing bodies already did, that's a great way to start. Tie that into there, because you're going to go to them for the ask anyway. You might as well tie it into what their values are.
Yeah.
Organizationally, through your general plan, through an updated IT strategic plan. Economic development ties into that as well. So it's going to vary with each customer. Well, the one thing the ERP does have to do is it has to give you timely, accurate information so your decision makers can make decisions. And decision makers are all up and down the chain in your organization. Your citizens are decision makers. They need to have timely, accurate information and access to that. That is the goal of all these systems. So if what you're doing is not furthering your mission and your delivery of customer service and necessary services, as well as making sure that your decision makers are getting the correct information, you need to take a serious look. Why are we going down this route? Because all efforts need to be aligned with making sure that that's what your ultimate goal is. So it's not just about what's flashy and what's interesting. It has to be about what actually serves the vision of the organization, which again comes from a variety of areas. Our project sponsors sometimes are mayors. Sometimes they're city managers, sometimes they're CFOs, sometimes they're CIOs. But the very first question we ask is, why this? Why now? Because that's where we wind up getting the very high level vision of what are we looking to do here and why is now the right time to do it.
And that shows up in let's say an RFP we put out for a client, right? It's the most important thing. outside of the requirements. Everybody's doing requirements. Those requirements have been around for 20 years. We have added on to them with our insights. But the most important part is that vision and the outcomes, the desired outcomes. I think that's where the industry is going, because again, getting back to how similar these products are, right? They'll differentiate by telling you that we are on this cloud, that cloud, or the other, how we are backed up, and how many dollars we spent on R&D. But it comes down to people and people's expectations and people's outcomes. Um, there are serious repercussions of a failed ERP implementation.
We work with a particular vendor that has a great product, and the customer service, especially post go live, is not great.
Yep.
That's a major area where a lot of other players up and coming are coming and taking customers away. Great product, love it, but you know what? I don't hear from my sales rep anymore. I don't hear from customer care anymore. I can't get questions answered. That makes a huge difference in local gov when a lot of things are word of mouth. The CFO is going to call the CFO in a neighboring organization or the place where they used to work and say, hey, how did your implementation go for this? And they're going to get the straightforward answer. And if you're not taking care of your customers post go live, it does not bode well.
Or during.
Or even during.
Yeah, or before, like not showing up to a sales demo.
Or not having a project plan.
All great things. Do you have questions? Yeah.
All right, so Kyler's joining us today.
Okay.
And she says, Robert, can you talk more about the attraction of citizen streamlining technology?
Oh, yeah. It really is.
Can you repeat that question so the audience can hear it?
Yeah, so talking about streamlining citizens with technology and needs and availability. It really is, it touches so many areas: your economic development, your outreach, your general plan, your overall strategy in the region. People notice when, hey, I can transact all my business straight through this website with the city, rather than I have to go over to the court to pay my fine, and then I walk over to utility billing to submit my my monthly payment, and then I got to walk over to permitting and take care of any demos or any other permits that I'm doing. Can I transact everything directly online, which is exactly what you're getting with one-stop shopping on Amazon or Instacart or with your banking. Everything else in your personal life revolves around the ability to do things from almost any platform, anywhere. ERP needs to be able to do the same thing as well. And like I talked about, the key with cities is that's what attracts your citizenry. That also attracts a lot of tourism as well. We have one client that's exactly what they're looking to do.
Yeah.
Is they want people to look at their website and go, this is the kind of place I would like to visit, because everything's easy to do, everything's easy to transact. It serves so many multiple facets.
And just to add on to that, right? When we talk about ERP, it's easy to just go down the finance and HR payroll path. There are systems that are in your ecosystem that need to be thought of, connected, modernized. We talked to someone that has come up with a great debt management solution yesterday. That most of our clients do this on Excel sheets, or they rely on a third party to get you data. So, what a great set of information that is for a citizen to see, how their county or city is managing debt. Typically, you don't get that information unless you go through budget books and lines of data on a PDF. So bringing that up to the data through the presentation layer through creative business analytics is something that often gets overlooked when you're doing ERP implementations, right? So you modernize the rest of it, your GL, and you're still doing that management on Excel sheets.
Well, the key thing to a lot of these is it has to be real-time information or current information. You see a lot of websites where a static document is posted that's already 6 months or 8 months old. People have an expectation of immediacy, especially in local government. So what in business, what happens if someone sends in a question or a phone call and doesn't get a call back within a period of time? They move on. They're doing the exact same thing with local government. Why would I go to the website when every time I go there, everything's out of date or it's 8 months old?
Yeah.
I can't submit feedback on an agenda. I got to go to a council meeting. I can't do that. I drive for Uber in the evenings or something like that. I can't make it to my council meeting. Make it easy for your citizens to be able to interact with you with immediacy. as well as be able to transact business with you. It's a pretty simple ask, because again, we see it in so many other areas of life. This is what ERP needs to provide, and solutions need to provide for local government.
More questions?
Yeah, so Kyler, one of the most interesting sessions was where a panel of government leaders spoke to delegates about transforming their hiring practices to increase efficiencies, expand applicant pools, reduce hiring times, and better attract qualified candidates. What were some of the takeaways that you recommend to combat this resource shortage?
So we've heard about this a lot: resourcing challenges, staffing shortages, retiring baby boomer generation. Gen Z is trying to figure out where they fit into the employment market, and we have this challenge also. Everybody does. So where does ERP fit into this? Or HRM, HCM, human capital management, talent management? How do you fit that in? One of the most interesting things I've heard in the last 3 days is that HCM platforms recognize this aspect tremendously. So they're trying to use AI to not only make things more streamlined and modernized, but also to make it, one, attractive to the new generation to start applying to these positions. But the third thing they're doing is they're thinking of this in a long-term play as them doing the job for these organizations, not just of hiring, doing the actual HR work through these platforms as a way to backfill the shortage of labor. And I think that's a novel approach to this, because this is where we talk about AI taking people's jobs, but we don't talk about AI replacing jobs that exist, but there are no people to fill it. People are either retired or they're not interested in that particular job. So that was a great revelation this week.
Yeah, I just love the fact of being able to get consistent data to your employees that you're onboarding, and that can be a struggle sometimes. There's, in an environment that hasn't matured fully, there tend to be some disconnects between data, and it's very easy for someone to get the wrong information from the wrong location.
Yep.
Because it's not being groomed or centralized or driven to a single interface where employees can get self-service on almost anything, either during their onboarding, post-onboarding. You have a change in your life, you need to change your benefits for some reason. You don't have to wait until you've got 30 minutes to go over and talk to HR or make a phone call. You can transact that and get that taken care of very, very easily. And in a lot of our environments where there are union considerations as well, just contract management can be an incredible nightmare, and just keeping track of what contract or agreement was this person brought in under, what are they entitled to for vacation, how does that differ from the person who's been here for 26 years and started off on a different contract, were they renewed with a new labor agreement. Just keeping focus on that, because what it always boils down to at the end of the day is if your employee doesn't get the right paycheck or no paycheck at all, it is incredibly demoralizing. So you have to stay on top of those things, keep them current. A lot of hiring managers out there, a lot of talent managers are asking for a lot of this innovation as well, which is great to see. They expect a modern system to have all of this, because a lot of them have come from other organizations that already had it as well. So that's a very important thing to keep an eye on, especially with ERP. ERP is not just financials. It is so much more.
Great point.
How critical are government accounting systems for an effective GovTech stack?
Former CIO, reveal it all.
In my opinion and in my background, your CFO is probably the second most, if not the most important position in the entire organization. Because a lot of your policy, your risk management, even the tone of the way you do things and why you do things will come out of your CFO, because they tend to have the most compliance things that they have to stay on top of as well. People are very sensitive to budgets, purchasing. These are the hot topics in a lot of council meetings beside community interaction. So it's a topic where you tend to have very mature people. They've dealt with a lot of risks. They tend to be very seasoned, especially in larger organizations. I mean, your CFO tends to be, and there's a guy I used to work with right there. It's the most important position. And a lot of IT shops used to be nested under CFOs anyway, as well as IT. So, it's incredibly important. I don't know of a way I could have gotten anything done without involvement of the CFO at some point and what their vision is and what their needs are. And that came from just the very basics of purchasing a new workstation to hiring an employee, all the way up to how are we going to sustainably fund this $3 million technology project with something other than one-time dollars. You know who usually has that answer? Your CFO.
And it's critical to involve functional leads, right? And you've been a CIO at a city. CIOs have the power to make decisions to buy an ERP system based on the technical aspects. And we've seen some make those decisions without involving the CFO or the CHRO.
Yeah.
How critical is it to have that? I mean, it's from a risk management perspective. Why would you take that on?
CIO is not the end user. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
And the way things are structured today, it's pretty easy to, IT can be involved in a lot of the technical back end. In some cases, there actually is no overhead for them whatsoever. They're just providing a connection out to the cloud, especially if your presence in the cloud and your cybersecurity are already mature. Implementing a new solution is very easy to do with IT. It's almost no effort whatsoever. But the days have to be gone where IT makes the decisions on a lot of these end user impacting, because they are not the end user. They provide a lot of, their perspective is completely different, especially from risk management. You have to involve the end user, you have to get their perspective. And a lot of times you have to control that messaging to the end user that, hey, this is going to be okay. You know, a lot of people get really insecure when change is coming, especially with software. So IT has to be really good at organizational change management, getting the messaging correctly, understanding what the end user's perspective is, what the end user needs, what's actually going to be sustainable. That is a lot to ask of your IT department. They've got 20 other things going on.
Yeah.
They don't have time to be experts in all 5 of those things.
Yeah. And we heard a client say this yesterday, right? That their IT department is concerned about cybersecurity, and if the RFP speaks to their standards of cybersecurity and the vendor can speak to that, they're satisfied. Then they'll make sure that your data is secure, that you're connected effectively to the cloud or whatever SaaS you're buying. And that's the extent of their involvement. And then training, retraining, documentation, that sort of falls on a PMO organization that you can hire from the outside like us, or you can build one in-house. But keep in mind that that's a temporary thing, because ERP implementations on a large scale can go on for 2 to 3 years, but you don't want to set up a 20-person PMO just for that. And then now you have to find jobs for these people after go live.
Great point. Post go live vendor relationship management. Someone still has to manage their relationship with the vendor. It's probably the most overlooked thing that occurs. And a lot of times that is just handed off to IT post go live. Okay, here's the maintenance agreement, here are the recurring costs. You know, keep paying it. It's sometimes the simplest thing that they're told to do. You have to manage that vendor relationship. You have to keep that momentum that you built up during implementation and post go live. Keep it rolling forward. That's what's going to save you from getting out of this boom bust cycle. You can get it with ERP. Yeah. So you cannot just simply pass off that vendor relationship management to someone further down the chain or to another department. It needs to be multiple people in a way that's manageable, that's not going to overburden you in terms of resources. But you can't just simply throw that at IT and go, here you go, manage this vendor relationship.
Yeah.
We're happy, let's just keep rolling forward.
So what do you do? Who manages it?
So a lot of times the organization or the committee that you set up, that's your core decision-making and stakeholder group, usually you need to leave it vested with that. We do this a lot in IT governance. IT governance is not bringing a bunch of people in the room telling IT what to do. IT governance is when you get all the key stakeholders and their perspectives about the actual end use of the product and how it has an effect on your service delivery. And you get perspective so that you all can make informed decisions as to where you want to go, both in terms of your operations as well as what IT needs to do to be able to support that. You need to keep that going. And it doesn't have to be the weekly meetings, say, like we have during a project, especially pre-implementation, or coming up to go live. You can look at it once a month, once a quarter, but someone needs to stay on top of that. And it doesn't always have to be one person. It can be as a group, and make sure that all your messaging of, hey, new upgrade is coming. The release notes say that we need to look at these particular things to go into the test environment. Who here can provide some users for an hour to go into the test environment and verify that this thing worked correctly? That's what's going to keep you out of trouble. That's what's going to keep you out of being 3 years behind
every
down the
3
road.
years. Yeah.
And then you start getting dissatisfied with the client, and then that cycle starts all over again.
We have more questions. Okay. Any parting thoughts? Wrap up comments.
Oh, come see us again next year. You come by the booth. We give tons of free advice.
Free
Love
advice.
doing
This
it.
year we gave out Hawaiian shirts, water bottles, notebooks, and the highlight always is hangover prevention pills, because it's a conference. People drink, and the point of this giveaway is that if you're going through an ERP implementation, there's going to be a lot of hangovers, lots of headaches, but not if you contract with us to do the selection, the consulting, the PMO. We're your hangover pill or prevention pill. So reach out to all of our channels. We're on YouTube, we're on podcast. We go live every week on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, and we also do podcasts on a weekly basis. I'm sorry, question?
We'll answer questions. I lost connection. So
Oh.
anything else that's in the chat, we'll come back.
Okay, yeah. If you put questions in the chat box we didn't get to, we'll respond to them in the comments. So look forward to that. Thanks for joining today. Greetings from Orlando. Thank you.